These lanterns are Ramadan lanterns and part of a tradition of lighting lanterns during Ramadan and the Eid celebrations within the Islamicate world. The lights in the lanterns stand as a symbolic representation of God's light and guidance, and have lit up the nights of Ramadan and Eid celebrations ever since at least the 10th century, as this tradition goes back to Egypt, where the Egyptians are said to have greeted the Fatimid Caliph al-Mu'izz during the holy month of Ramadan in the 10th century with lanterns when he arrived at what would become later Cairo, as the city of Cairo was founded as the new Fatimid capital city in 1969. And the Fatimids were Shia Ismaili Muslims. So yes, a Shia Ismaili practice is the basis for what later would be borrowed into mainstream popular practice in the greater Islamicate world, even among Sunni Muslims later. It is also possible that this lantern tradition is also associated with the presence of the Musahhirun tradition. The Musahhirun were those that walk the street carrying lanterns and drums, calling on sleepers to wake up to eat the suhur, the last meal before fasting, beating the drums and shining the lights into the faces of the sleepy people. This was done so that the people would wake up and have time to consume the last meal before dawn during the fasting month of Ramadan, and thus have taken the food and have the energy to work during the day. And it is possible that the lantern tradition associated with Ramadan is also associated with this old tradition as well. But this tradition, as well as the general Ramadan lantern tradition, might possibly be even older than this in its true origins. Possibly even older than Islam itself, as Egyptian Christians also used to ignite lanterns during major religious celebrations, such as during Easter and Christmas too. And before them, the ancient polytheistic Egyptians used to do similar acts of ritual worship involving lanterns, lamps and candlelights to honor their gods during special days too. Here you have, for example, the Lyknapsia celebration in honor of the goddess Isis' birthday, which was celebrated by the ignition of lamps. And the birthday of the god Horus was also celebrated with a lamp festival, with lighting of lamps. So this is an older tradition that might have survived and became later incorporated into local Egyptian Christian practice and then also adopted in later Islamicate practice. And this is actually similar, arguably, to Christmas being probably influenced or inspired or adopted from earlier pagan practices regarding Saturnalia, a Roman holiday period that was held in honor of the god Saturn from the 17th to the 23rd of December, and from which Christmas, being located on the 25th of December, is suspected to have been heavily influenced by. Religion and religious practices tend to borrow from previous religions and religious practices. And this is true for Christianity as well as for Islam, and also for other religious traditions, and especially in folk practice, in popular practice of religion. Also connecting these Ramadan lanterns with an even closer parallel is the use of lanterns during Halloween, All Saints' Eve, which can be connected back to old practices during Samhain, an ancient Celtic polytheistic holiday festival marking the end of the harvest season. But it and various traditions associated with it got adopted into later Christian practices connected to All Saints' Eve, including the use of lanterns or lit fires. Similar to how the Ramadan lanterns might originate from ancient Egyptian polytheistic practices of lighting candles, lamps and lanterns to celebrate various events. Though it is also possible in both the case with the jack-o'-lanterns from Halloween and in the case of these Ramadan lanterns that they are separate traditions that just appeared separately in similar contexts, and that these polytheistic traditions have nothing to do with their later monotheistic counterparts. As lighting candles and lamps in connection to various religious practices are a reoccurring phenomena in many different unrelated religious traditions. As the fire of lamps and lanterns provide not only light in the darkness, guiding you through the night, but also warmth against the coldness of the night, and thus offers a type of protection, and thus easily becomes a symbol of guidance and protection, just like a higher power is associated with guidance and protection. And thus the light and warmth of lanterns and lamps easily get associated with the higher divine, with a higher power which you as a worshipper ought to give reverence to, and to which candles, lanterns and lamps are associated with. And it is very much possible that the Ramadan lanterns are just a result of these general human tendencies to associate the light and fire of lanterns and lamps to a greater divine power, as a symbolic representation of a greater divine power. And if this is the case, that the origin of the Ramadan lanterns lie not in a previous tradition that was adopted, but rather in a reoccurring pattern of using lanterns and lamps in religious practice, then the Ramadan lanterns are part of a greater human tendency of using lanterns and lamps in religious practice and ritual, a tendency that had been reoccurring not only outside of Egypt in human history, but also in older Egyptian history before the time of Islam, as done during the celebrations of Isis and Horus. But regardless of the true origin of the earliest traces of the Ramadan lanterns, it is undeniable that the practice of the Ramadan lanterns spread from Egypt to all over the Islamicate world as a practice of popular ritual associated with Ramadan and the Eid celebrations. Not that dissimilar from how the Christmas tree began as a practice in Central Europe in the 16th century, but later spread all over the world to become a standardized popular practice among almost all Christians. And just like how the Christmas tree has become a popular symbol for Christmas, so has the Ramadan lantern become a popular symbol for Ramadan and Eid celebration in popular Islamic religious tradition. I hope you liked this video about these Ramadan lanterns and found it to be interesting. Please do post comments and questions in the comment section, and I will try to respond to you as quickly as possible, as I love interacting with you, my dear viewers.
Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities.
اشتركوا بالقناة من فضلكم.